Mr. Muresan is the first on the list.
Chairman, good morning, colleagues, and also from my side, a word of thank you to the rapporteur for the work which he has done over the course of the past weeks, and also for the productive, open, cooperative spirit that he is working with us, with the shadow rapporteurs. What have we put forward as EPP Group in terms of amendments last week? Firstly, we evaluate that the draft budget, as it was presented by the European Commission at the end of June, it was a tight budget, but given that our priorities are, as defined at the beginning of the MFF, the creation of jobs and growth, plus handling the refugee crisis and increasing the security for the citizens of Europe, we believe that the draft budget of the European Commission was much more appropriate than the position of the Council. This is why my group made it very clear that none of the cuts put forward by the Council have to be accepted by this House. This is something which even the chairman of our group said publicly at the beginning of this week, so restoring all of the cuts made by the Council is the first starting point for our group, and I think we're in line with the rapporteur here. Secondly, a second important principle which we have taken into account when putting forward the amendments is the report adopted by a wide majority of this House on the revision of the MFF, the report drafted by our colleagues Mr. Olbricht and Ms. Thomas, and everything which we put forward as amendments is consistent with what the large majority here in the House adopted in the MFF report. Thirdly, as the rapporteur also said, we want to restore all cuts in the area of Horizon 2020 and Connecting Europe facility made when FC was launched. This has been a position of Parliament. This is something that other institutions have committed to when FC was created. Now, when it comes to headings. In heading 1A, as I said, of course, restoring all cuts made by the Council. Then our group proposes to use the existing margin to support SMEs, to basically support growth-enhancing measures and measures which create jobs, which are mainly SMEs, researchers, so the Marie Curie program, the European Research Council, the Youth of Europe, Erasmus, COSME, so as I said, research SMEs. And we propose that all of the existing margin in heading 1.2, except of course what is needed for pilot projects there, be used for these jobs creating measures. Secondly, Youth Employment Initiative. We have put forward an amendment which proposes that the financing for the Youth Employment Initiative for the year 2017 is being kept at the same level as at the beginning of this MFF in the years 2014-2015. We have heard yesterday during the State of the Union from Commission President Juncker that the Youth Employment Initiative is helping young people to find a job or traineeship, an apprenticeship. The Commission is, of course, due to put forward an evaluation of this initiative, but as long as there is no evaluation of the Commission, which eventually leads to shortcomings, which eventually shows us shortcomings in the Youth Employment Initiative, we see no reason why the financing of this project should be reduced, and this is why the amounts proposed by the Commission, 1 billion for the Youth Employment Initiative for all of the remaining of the MFF is too little, and this is why our departure point is consistent with the position of the Olbricht-Thomas report. Also in this heading, the EPP group has put forward an amendment proposing an increase of 4 million euros to the fund of the most deprived. We believe that the most deprived people in Europe we believe that we have to give a signal to the most deprived people of Europe that when we draft the budget, they are also not forgotten. In heading 2, we have put forward the amendment. The rapporteur has already mentioned it. Supporting the milk producers in Europe with 500 million euros, the milk producers which are affected by the milk crisis. We know that the European Commission is going to put forward the amending letter on this matter, but we think it is really important to show that this House stands by the side of milk farmers in Europe. This is why this for us is not only a symbolic step, but it is really a very important political action, and we expect that the financing, the support for the milk farmers affected by the crisis is included in the position of the Parliament, so as should be the second amendment which we put forward, which proposes 100 million euros for the milk farmers affected by the Russian embargo. In heading 3, of course, the rapporteur mentioned it, the low ceilings remain a main problem in heading 3. Our main point there is the need to further increase the staffing of Europol, which is, of course, a major contribution to improving security in Europe, which is exactly what people want. In heading 3, we have proposed modest increases to the neighborhood policy to both the East and the Mediterranean, and we expect both the Eastern neighborhood and the Mediterranean neighborhood to be seen by the Parliament as priorities, because we have to know what world we're living in. And who are the neighbors of the European Union? The neighbors of the European Union are Russia, which is increasingly aggressive. It's Ukraine, which is profoundly destabilized in the eastern neighborhood. It's Turkey, a country that we have seen over the course of the past months how much we can trust. It's the Middle East, and it's Northern Africa. So if we are to live in safety here in Europe, it's clear that we have to do more in the neighborhood, in both the East and the South. We have also tabled an amendment proposing to increase the macro-financial assistance which the European Union provides to countries outside of the European Union in need, and we propose to do this because the Commission proposed a reduction of micro-financial assistance from 80 million euros to 30 million euros from 2016 to 2017, and we think this decrease is too much. This is why we proposed not to restore it from 30 to 80, but to increase from 30 to 45, which is also in line with the opinion put forward by the INTA committee, which deals with the matter. Then, of course, I have so far told you the main lines of our group, and mainly we agree with the rapporteur on this. There are 2 points on which we, for the time being, are not in agreement with the rapporteur, but which are very important for our group, and let me explain them. Firstly, is putting money for EFSI into reserve. I will say this very clear here. This is something that our group cannot and will not support, and this is an absolute red line for our group. And let me explain why. EFSI is a new project. It's in its first year of existence. So far, we have heard the evaluations of the Commission. We do not have any other evaluation, an evaluation of our own, any official document, which seriously questions the viability of this program. Can it be improved? Can we do better in terms of additionality, in terms of ensuring a level playing field across the 28 member states of the Union? We can, but this is exactly what the Commission is doing with the proposals which it put forward this week. Make clarifications in terms of additionality. Make sure that, if we don't want to see a highway in Germany be financed, that then it will not be financed by the EFSI, and make sure that money goes to exactly those riskier projects in areas where they are needed, in those economic sectors and in those corners of Europe which are needed. Was there a discrepancy in terms mainly between new member states and old member states when it comes to financial instruments, to public-private partnerships, to the existence of promotional banks? Yes, there was. At the beginning, when EFSI was launched, we have also raised awareness about this, but we are seeing that both the Commission and the European Investment Bank are doing all they can to assure a level playing field and to reduce the discrepancies between the countries. The efforts in terms of promoting EFSI, to SMEs especially, and that's why it also leads to job creation there, are good. So the Commission works on adjusting it, which might be a reasonable case to make for, but giving now the signal to the people of Europe, to the private sector, and especially to SMEs, that the project which has without any doubt led to job creation and supporting companies, as I said, mainly SMEs, the SME window works very well. Giving now the signal that we are endangering this is clearly counterproductive. That is why we will not support putting EFSI money into reserve. And last thing which I want to mention, Chairman, is the preparatory action in the area of defense. Is defense important? Do we want more security for fully on the side of the rapporteur there. However, we have to be aware that 50% of the amounts of money allocated for preparatory actions have to go into new preparatory actions, and we will just have to evaluate and make a political decision if this preparatory action in the area of defense, meaning to lead to, through better innovation, better research in the area of defense, to improving our defense capabilities here in Europe, whether that is a political priority for us, and I think it should be. Chairman, I will stop here for the beginning. Thank you very much for the attention.